Yeah.
Because if we found out the Ark of the Covenant was in fact a real object and we know where it is and it does match the description in the Bible, that kind of changes everything. Now all of a sudden the Bible is not just stories and myths. The Bible is some sort of a historical record.
Yeah. Well, let's not forget that one of the world's best known flood myths also comes from the Bible, which is the flood of Noah.
Right.
Which again is part of this worldwide tradition of which I am absolutely convinced Atlantis should be understood as a part of that worldwide tradition of a global flood and the loss of a former civilization. And again, it's one of the reasons why I've done the work I've done over these years.
That one to me is so crazy that someone is keeping that information from the rest of the humans. Because if we found out the Ark of the Covenant was in fact a real object and we know where it is and it does match the description in the Bible, that kind of changes everything.
I think it was an actual object.
And you think it was some nuclear something or another?
I think it's what is rightly described as an out-of-place artifact. Because if you look at the description in the book of Exodus, the very precise dimensions of it, it's got a layer of gold, it's got a layer of wood, it's got another layer of gold. It's very precisely specified, like a blueprint in the book of Exodus. And then it does all this stuff. It shoots out jets of fire and kills 50,000 Philistines in the city of Ashdod when they open the Ark of the Covenant and look inside, and suddenly everybody in that city is dying, and what they're dying of is cancerous tumors. This is described in the Old Testament.
It's just insane that we know where it is.
The fascinating thing is that Ethiopia is the only country in the world that actually claims to have the Ark of the Covenant.
That one to me is just like, we know where it is.
Yeah.
What's going on here? What do we know? What are we being told? What could be false? And 2 times in a week, how does this connect to exactly what was written in the Pyramid Code? So we know that in the Pyramid Code document, it already spoke exactly about what was underneath the pyramids. Well, it spoke about the Ark of the Covenant as well, with its exact location, where you can find it, and what it entails. So what the CIA actually declassified in those documents, once again, is not new information. It's just a big organization, agency coming out saying, hey, look, this is what we did. And by the way, we did it like 40 years ago.
Covenant commitments by God towards man is one of the unique dynamics of Judaism and Christianity. You don't have covenants in Buddhism. You don't have covenants in Hinduism, because lineage and connection to the material world means nothing in those forms of religion. But in Christianity and in Judaism, the idea that God has entered into covenant relationship becomes foundational, because covenant means that God makes promises to respond to us in a way that we would describe as being evidence of his goodness in our day-to-day life.
Menelik succeeded in stealing the Ark of the Covenant from Solomon's temple. And he brought it back by another ruse. All of these stories are full of characteristically legendary tricks. But he put a replacement in Jerusalem and conveyed the actual Ark of the Covenant by air. It was taken through the air at great speed to Axum. And the fact is that it is absolutely fundamental part of Ethiopian Christianity today.
So this project is called Project Sunstreak, like streaking the sun. And it's using something called psychoenergetic. So you called something called remote viewing. Remote viewing is essentially this thing that is weird to most people, but it's very real. I've worked with remote viewers before. A lot of agencies work with remote viewers to find things that they can't find through traditional mechanisms, like missing bodies. I work with somebody named Patricia Mona. She found 30 missing bodies for the RCMP in Canada when they couldn't find it themselves. And it's all done through this really weird mechanism, but it works because these very big agencies actually use them.
The CIA. The CIA's been using remote viewing for years.
For a long time. This is not wacky stuff.
Yeah.
It's not wacky stuff, but it sounds wacky because we just don't understand. What do you mean projecting consciousness out to a specific coordinate of longitude and latitude and being able to understand exactly what's there? So they did this in 1988, and I want to read something real quick from their actual declassified documents from December 5th, 1988. It was a session by, they don't give us the name, but it's called Remote Viewer Number 32, which means they used over 30 people in this experiment to do it. This specific session lasted 90 minutes from 9:15 a.m. to 10:45 a.m. on December 5th, 1988. And it says the following. Target is a container. The target is what they're looking for on the longitude and latitude lines. This container has another container inside of it. The target is fashioned of wood, gold, and silver. The target is similar in shape to a coffin and is decorated with seraphim, which are like these gold-looking statues. This target is located somewhere in the Middle East, as the language spoken by individuals present seemed to be Arabic. Visuals of surrounding buildings indicated the presence of mosque domes. And I'm going to tell you right now that I know people are talking about, is it in Ethiopia? Because there's a lot of, Arabic-speaking people over there. No, it's under the Dome of the Rock, and I'll tell you how we know that in a second. But it continues on by saying the target is hidden, underground, dark and wet were all aspects of the location of the target. The purpose of the target is to bring a people together, meaning a religious object. It has something to do with ceremony, memory, homage, the resurrection. There is an aspect of spirituality, information, lessons, and historical knowledge far beyond what we know. And then it goes on by explaining something which I can elaborate on further of what this means. The target is protected by entities and energies. Yeah. And can only be opened by those who are authorized to do so. This container will not/cannot be opened until the time is deemed correct. Once it is time to open the container, the mechanics of the lock system will be found to be fairly simple. Individuals opening the container by prying or striking are destroyed, meaning they die, by the container's protectors, meaning its energies, through the use of a power unknown to us. Now, it sounds weird, but that's coming from the CIA. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
this is like the sword and the stone.
Someone in the chat
Only
says,
the right people can pull it out, and the wrong people will be punished. And again, I get the vision of Atreyu going through those. Remember? Never ending
Sphinxes.
Never ending story.
Yes,
Yeah.
when he goes through the Sphinx, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's like only those authorized. This is amazing. Sorry, I got excited.
So,
it's
okay.
Indiana Jones in real life. That's what's going on here.
I know someone in the chat said, man, Redacted, you guys became the woke History Channel. I don't know about that, but I'll take the History Channel piece of it. I'm thrilled about that. I mean, again, these are CIA documents, right? And so using these remote viewers and the documents before this, I mean, this has been around for a long, long time for people laying claim to what actually this ark means and does and holds. But I'm curious about these beings that are sort of guarding this thing. Do we have any more information about what these beings might be that are guarding this thing? What kind of energies?
Yeah, so I think that word is not the proper word to use. You're talking about something that is a very highly spiritual object and artifact. I call it a form of technology. And when you deal in that world, think about it scientifically as frequencies. There are certain frequencies that some people can touch and some people cannot, because if you don't have the proper vehicle to do it, it will literally electrocute you and kill you. For example, there are some people like monks who can walk on fire and not get burned, but me and you may walk on fire and we're going to get burned. That's what we're talking about with certain energies embedded into this thing. Remember, we're talking 4,000 years ago. This is around the same time of the pyramids as well. We're talking about a civilization, a society, a people that did things in a way that we do not understand today because it's forgotten knowledge. But what's interesting over here, when it comes to understanding its location as well, which is important, is, yeah, there are some people saying, it might be in Ethiopia. We don't really know. Well, the CIA documents are talking about it underneath some sort of dome, some big mosque in the Middle East. And then here's where the diversion, the distraction comes in. They say it might be here, it might be there, we don't really know. So I'm going to read something from a Daily Mail article that came out just the other day about this topic. And then I want to show you what the Pyramid Code has to say about this, because once again, just like it was on the money with what was underneath the pyramids, it did it once again in a few days. So it's speaking about, according to legend, Queen of Sheba and Israel's King Solomon, so this is history, gave birth to Menelik in her country of origin, but he later traveled to Jerusalem to study with his father. While there, he supposedly stole the ark and brought it back to Aksum in Ethiopia. Locals say it has resided in the church of Our Lady Mary of Zion ever since. But then, the British scholar of Semitic languages and Ethiopian studies, Edward Ullendorf, claimed that he saw the ark inside the church during World War II. But a source close to Ullendorf later revealed that the artifact he saw was nothing more than a replica. What he saw was what you find in any Ethiopian church. It's a model of the Ark of the Covenant because they have replicas all over the place. They have decoys all over the place because you're talking about something of extremely high, not just historical significance, but spiritual significance as well. So in the Pyramid Code, a few days ago, we spoke about what was underneath the pyramids, and we cited certain things from that document that came out 5 years ago. Listen to what it says over here. King Solomon, King David's son, manifested the idea of the first holy temple, but it came at a heavy price to the people of the nation. The first holy temple was composed of 3 main parts. The main hall, the second part of the temple was the main temple, which contained certain objects, and the third part of the temple was known as the Holy of Holies, in which the Ark of the Covenant was. However, over time, and now I'm going to the bottom, it specifically says the place itself, which is known as the foundation stone, in the Dome of the Rock. So the Dome of the Rock, if you read over there, the Holy of Holies, also known as the Dvir in Hebrew, sat on what we know today as the foundation stone. In Hebrew, it's called Evan Hashtiyah, within the Dome of the Rock as we know it today. The foundation was used as a stand for the Dvir. The foundation stone had and still has very strong powers, and its geographical location is the energy center of our planet, as well as the energy center of everything as a whole. But here's where it gets interesting. If you go down, it says, in a straight line, deep underground, exactly what the remote viewer said, are the contents of the Holy of Holies, which are concealed there until this very day. The room in which these items are hidden, like the rest of the temple, was designed by King Solomon. And further conversations, if you want to call them, about the Pyramid Code, which is the series on Unified TV, further explain exactly where it is, roughly 180 feet below the base of the foundation stone, which is what the Dome of the Rock is actually built around on right now. It's called the Dome of the Rock because it's a massive dome over the foundation stone.
Now, something that Candace Owens has been reporting on quite a bit lately is that a lot of the destruction of the Middle East right now by globalist powers, what she thinks is to purposely destroy Christian artifacts in this area. So this feels like a link to me. What do you think of it? I know you're not a war expert, but what are your thoughts on where the war is currently targeted?
Yeah, but we could use logic to understand certain things. And what we know is, again, factually, like the center of war in the world is there in the Middle East. It's
yes.
This aspect of everything around Israel. Everybody's fighting over it. And the 3 main monotheistic religions, which is Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, all look at that place as this is our place. We got to ask ourselves, why did they go, if you go according to history, before it became a mosque, it was the Holy Temple. Why did they choose to build it there around the foundation stone specifically? What did they know that we don't know today? And the answer is a whole lot. And over time, we'll figure that out. But what I believe is the answer to your question is there's a lot of war around there because there's a lot of power given to the very individuals who control that. And that's what they're really fighting over. This isn't about Jews versus Muslims. It's not a religious war within people. That's how we're used to fight each other in this game of divide and conquer. But what's really going on is, in my opinion, there are powers that be that we do understand control the world when it comes to energy sectors, oil, gas, water, and so on and so forth. Those same people want to make sure, just like a lot of other things are not found out by the masses, that this is not found out either. And that's why I think they're moving people towards saying, well, it's in Ethiopia, look over there, don't look over here. But everything shows us that we're here. And if we look at what happened in January of 2011, this is a very famous video, and this is weird, but it's on camera from multiple angles. There was this big orb of light that today they call UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon. They used to call them UFOs. Nobody knows what it was, but this video was very, very highly spoken about in January of 2011 when it happened, right over the top of the Dome of the Rock, hovering there for a while, staying there, and then boom, it just shoots up at a speed that we cannot comprehend in modern day physics. So my question is, why over there? What's so special about the Dome of the Rock? And if we look at history, we understand the power of the foundation stone. We understand the power of that geographical location, and everything shows us that it's there. Why are they telling us it's somewhere else? To divert our attention. That's my opinion.
Show me